So thank you all for being here, and I for sure want to thank our panelists for taking time out of their day to be here and talk about benefits. Benefits usually are a big factor in the reason that employees sign on for a job, and a lot of times why they stay in a job. And and benefits mean different things to different people, and especially as they go through their lives, things change, life changes, you have children, things like that, and what benefits mean to everyone is a little bit different, and it changes as we go through our careers. And so I am going to introduce our panel, and then we're just going to talk about how different their benefits are for their employees, and maybe things that they have tried to do to attract and retain some of those quality employees. So first we have Chad Gunderson from Half Brothers Brewery. Chad is born and raised in Bemidji. First realized he wanted to be a brewer back in 2008 while attending UND. We do have some UND alum here, myself included. So Chad graduated, although from BSU, in 2011 in business management. He opened Half Brothers with his half brother in 2017. When not hanging out in the brewery, Chad likes fishing, spending time with his family, and skateboarding. So thank you, Chad, for being here. Next, I have Barb Schultz. Barb currently holds the position of president at Ideal Aerosmith. She received her BS in accounting from UND and joined Ideal Aerosmith as an intern. During her 30 years with Ideal Aerosmith, Barb has held numerous positions, including production manager, vice president of finance and contracts, senior vice president of operations. She provided program management on Ideal's largest, most complex projects, directed Ideal Aerosmith through its initial ISO 9001 certification, government compliance procedures, and holds various certifications in lean manufacturing and Six Sigma. Barb has serviced on the Chamber Board of Directors for several years, including chairman of the board. She also was on the integral board of directors for the Highway 2 West Manufacturing Association and an advisory board member for the Grand Forks Economic Development Corporation. That's a mouthful, but thank you, Barb, for being here. And we have Marlene Miller. Marlene Miller, MSW, serves as the Director of People Resources for All True Health System, where she has worked for the past 10 years. Her responsibilities include workforce strategy, leadership development, culture, and engagement. Marlene moved to Grand Forks from Winnipeg in 1997, sponsored by the University of North Dakota on a student visa. She is now a U.S. citizen, congratulations, proud community member, and enjoys many downtown offerings on a regular basis. So I just, again, appreciate you guys taking the time. And I think I'll sit now. So we will just go through some questions, and you can pass the mic if you have. We've kind of reviewed the questions a little bit. So just starting off on what benefits that you see employees asking for the most, like what are the most common, if that has, if that's pretty traditional still as, the healthcare, or what you see employees asking for.
All right, testing, good. All right, well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me. My answer to this is pretty short, actually. I think what you said in terms of benefits being so personal, it really does vary. We don't find a huge theme right now. But when I pressed our recruiters to say, what are people really asking for? The one thing would be PTO, or paid time off. And I know that's different. It's called different things. At All True, PTO is, time accrued, and it covers both your sick time and holidays and your vacation. So it's all one big bucket, which can be new for people if they've worked elsewhere. So explaining how that works. And people wanting paid time off up front in a bucket that they can access immediately versus having to wait to accrue it 1 month at a time type thing. And so that is something we will negotiate. It's almost kind of the only thing you can with benefits, we find. Otherwise, it's pretty personal. I think a lot of things are just given expected in terms of, well, you're going to offer this, this, this. So what sets us apart? So that's what the one thing we're seeing.
All right, thanks. Yeah, thanks for having me today. This is a great conference to be at. So I would say same thing, pretty much. The standard package is kind of expected. So you better just have the 401k, the health, the dental, and so on that you're offering to them. And then flexibility and time off. That's what we see. And yeah, definitely we have our new recruits come in and they all say, I don't want to start at 2 weeks, I want to be at 3 weeks or 4 weeks. And sometimes they do want some bank there too, so we do that. And then from the flexibility standpoint, allowing our employees to go to a baseball game in the afternoon to watch their kids, or we had 2 employees who had to leave this morning because their wives were stuck in the water. And, it's just, they know that they can ask, and we're just fine with them doing that and taking care of their family. So I think that's one of the part of our culture.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. So our business is a little bit different. We have a lot of, I'd say probably 60% of our employees are part-time. So benefits to them are, what discounts do they get when they come on? So that's either food, beer, apparel. But we are a very family-oriented business as well. So we just hired a guy out of Bismarck that requested health insurance. So we do have the traditional benefits. We just actually started that about a year ago. So that's pretty big for our small business of 17 employees. So we try to work around everyone's schedules, and pay time off is kind of use it, don't abuse it for our small business. So being very family oriented, it's the taking off at 3 o'clock if you need to, as long as all your stuff's done. So yeah.
Thank you. So the next question is, have you seen those benefits or requests for benefits change over the years? Perhaps with different generations, as I know, Barb, you've been in it for 30 plus years. Have you seen those change, or how have you seen that change?
Yeah, I would say going back to, the 90s or whatever, when people were talking about cafeteria plans, right? And they were like, you give them so much money and then they could pick, I want dental, I want this, I want that. And of course, that's kind of gone away, probably because of the way that the health insurance is now structured. But so I think that isn't talked about as much as it certainly used to be. They would, look at the health insurance plans. What are you paying? What am I paying? That was really important. But today, again, I think it's the time off. We're also seeing some, hybrid situations. We hire a lot of engineers, and they're really difficult to find in the area or move to the area. So we do some hybrid type situations where they may have to be here once a week, once a month, depending on where they're from, and then they work from home. So working from home and having the availability to work from home if their kids are sick, they're sick, COVID, anything like that, is really been important to them, and we, of course, never saw that in the past. So that's kind of a new area we're seeing.
Thank you. Marlene, do you want to? I know Altru is, a bigger, one of the bigger employers in Grand Forks. So you've seen they have so many levels of employees, as from the doctors down to the receptionists and everything. How do you choose some of the benefits that you do offer?
Yes, so we have 3,800-ish employees, about 200 physicians, and just to give you that context, we actually, through COVID, have become a multi-state employer. We used to only employ individuals in Minnesota and North Dakota, where we have clinics in our hospitals, and we are now, I want to say vetted, because we want to make sure we can be a registered employer in other states before we recruit. So we have vetted 22 other states now, and we do have employees working in 14 different states across the nation. So it's very much a dynamic workforce where somebody may not care about the discounts. Our our people do too. Like I'm always like, can I get a discount to True You when I want a facial or something fun? Which you all have coupons for, by the way, in your bags. And I didn't mean to plug that, but I'm just like, yes, True You. Treat yourself. It's all about wellness and balance, right? So anyway, some of those employees don't care about what discounts we have, and we're not really trying to figure out what discounts we can give our couple of employees in Florida, for example. But there's back to that personal, or what are folks looking for. So that's just been a big change for us, not only from an employment law perspective, but recruiting and then trying to, onboard people and get them acclimated to the organization while meeting their needs, which of course always is that remote piece, and getting them equipment and trying to be as efficient as possible and making sure they have what they need to do their work. So I know I digressed a bit, but I just thought that might be of interest. So we have some nurses that answer the nurse call line from Florida. We have recruiters in Virginia and Georgia. We have IT people all over. It's actually still pretty minimal. About 300 of our almost 4,000 employees are fully remote, and we expect to continue going in that direction. And of course, you just have to stay competitive with what they're used to getting from where they are in whatever state that is. And we also have some no states. There's no New York or no California because it's way too complex to employ people in those states when you're in North Dakota. So anyway, just a little bit of a side note.
And that is a very good point, because unfortunately the pandemic, something that anyone would have ever expected, has just thrown, I think, just a complete curveball on a lot of employers. And I think, the reason that we have so many openings and so many, businesses looking to recruit quality employees, that maybe it wasn't quite as, prevalent a couple of years ago. And like you said, you maybe didn't have remote HR, remote nurse line, and I didn't even know that there's nurses in Florida and all over the country.
You might hear a bit of some different accents when you call Ultra than you're used to.
Yeah, very interesting.
I realized I didn't answer your question. Can I jump back to
yeah,
that?
absolutely.
I'm like, what did I write down? In terms of how do we decide what benefits to offer? So we do work with a benefits broker, and I mean, we're fortunate to do that as a large organization. So they keep a pulse on benefits nationwide and then give us a sense of what's either hot or coming up that we anticipate changing, or what's kind of going away that we almost could think about discontinuing because it's not really part of the marketplace anymore. And so we really do rely on them, and we meet with them quarterly and have a committee that then decides what we offer and what we don't offer if we have to make changes. And the other thing, we're gearing up to do a benefits survey of our employees, and it'll be specifically what do they want, what's important, and get them to rank it, because everything's important. And then, but to what degree for our employee group? And then we'll make some decisions based on that for 2023. And I'd say we manage at least 1 to 2 benefit changes every year, so it's very dynamic.
Thank you. Chad, I'll maybe direct this one towards you. Is there any unique or original benefits you offer? I know like you said, you have part-timers, you probably have a younger employee base. I know I've heard on the radio, I hear Cirrus Design advertising that they offer their employees and employee families the ability to get a private pilot's license, if they choose to do that, which I think is incredible. So that is something that very, untraditional and something that we probably not a lot of employers obviously are able to, but you can tell they're obviously trying to find different ways to recruit and retain those employees. And so Chad, I know you said, we talked about free beer and merch and all that stuff. You have other things that you offer?
So those are the basics. We offer discounts on everything that we make in-house, so beer, food, apparel. But we do try to, we are only about 5 years old, so we haven't really seen the changes in what benefits people want. So we're still kind of learning what is attractive to employees. a few fun things that we've done with local other small businesses is like food gift card trades. So that's something that we try to throw out every once in a while. Is we'll reach out to Blue Moose for an example. Is we'll do a gift card trade. So we load up $500 worth of $10 gift cards and hand them out to Blue Moose employees. They give us $500 worth of gift cards. So it's like, hey, thanks for staying late. Here's a gift card. And that kind of helps promote other businesses around town, not just inside benefits. But that's about, what a lot of our business is based on beer. So that's the number one discount people want, is, hey, how much can I buy this for? Or take home, what can I take home for free? So.
And I think just acknowledging, like you said, giving them gift cards, acknowledging their, their effort. And I didn't give a lot of my background, but I'm a AFLAC independent agent right now, but I did work as a nurse for 20 years at All True. And, if you picked up an extra shift or came in on your weekend off, not just the pay incentive, but I had a, supervisor that would give a $10 gift card, and just that acknowledgement, and just even for however small, just that acknowledgement and a small thank you for just doing something extra. A lot of times it's even at least in the nursing field, it's helping out your employees, knowing that they're not going to be short-staffed, and kind of that loyalty to your employees means a lot. But just from a supervisor or owners, having just a small token of thank you, and to offer them other things from businesses around the community is great too. Thank you. So what, is there any benefits that you guys have tried to offer and realized that the feasibility isn't there? And when I think of that, when my kids were young, when I was working at All True, I know we had talked about a child care center. Having on-site child care would have been really great. However, I know that the feasibility, the logistics, there's a lot that goes into that. So is there any benefits that you've actually considered providing, but it's just not going to be feasible?
Yeah, I think the only thing I can think of is like working from home. So there's a lot of people who would approach us, and because we are a manufacturer, we need our engineers or our support staff available to go back and answer questions and support our production workers so we can keep things moving. So we've kind of had tried that a little bit, but for the most part, it's always best to have them at work. So like I said, we dabbled in this kind of hybrid situation, and so we have to figure out how to do that because that's the way things are moving right now, and we will probably have to figure out how to do 100% work from home for some of the positions, but right now we're not there yet. We're still trying to figure out how to get that done.
I want to tell you, 20 years later, we still get asked to open a daycare.
Really?
And it is something we continue to look at, but it is not something we still feel like we could do. Mm-hmm. I think the biggest gap for people is just picking up shifts short notice or working non-traditional hours, and what options do they have for their kids, which is real. And I know it's a community initiative, not just an All True thing either. So that's still on the list and still not feasible right now, given all the licensing requirements and how highly we're regulated as a healthcare entity as well. So that would add a layer of complexity. Well, this is just a side note. I'm so curious by Chad how they name their beers, and that could be a benefit. Could you name a beer after me if I worked for you or something? You could get some.
Yeah, some of those beer names are really interesting. I love them. It's very creative. Do you have a rhyme or reason of how you name them? Just getting a little bit off course, but it's kind of fun, kind of a fun conversation.
So a lot of it comes from inspirations of what we're doing. A lot of my inspiration is skateboarding. So you'll see we just partnered with the Grand Forks Skate Park for a beer release last week called Park Shark. And a local skateboard artist designed the label for us and came up with like the name. So we try to have a small little panel inside the brewery, whether the name comes right away or it's a working name. So I can't take full responsibility for all the names. I think it's the people that we surround ourselves in, that all the content that comes from it. So it's pretty fun.
Yeah. Anything else you can think of that, might be out of the ordinary, or things that maybe people have asked for, just, kind of off the standard, like we talked about 401k, health insurance, dental, anything else that you can think of?
Well, we've been successful implementing a 980 work schedule. We did this about 5 years ago, and it wasn't easy. We almost had to give up because of the overtime laws. But basically, we work 9-hour days, 4 days a week, and then every other Friday we have off, and every other Friday we work an 8-hour day. And because of the Fridays, you start your work week Friday at 11, and that's where your overtime is calculated based on that. So it's kind of confusing, but it gives our employees 26 extra days off a year. And with that, then you get a lot of 4-day weekends. At Christmas, we'll get like 11 days off if you take 2 days off. So there's a lot of benefits to looking at the calendar for the full year, planning your vacations around it. And normally we have a lot of people who can't even take all their vacation because of the extra days. So it's a good recruiting, but it's been even a better retention, because I think what happens is people are like, I'm not giving my Fridays off. I love it. And so that's been a great benefit that we've been able to offer, which really didn't cost us anything. And then, besides that, we have the employee events. So once a month, we try to do something. We just had a grill out on last Wednesday. We'll bring in the ice cream truck maybe next in July. We'll do a day where we'll, bring in pizza, and then we'll give gift cards out every hour, just through a drawing. So we try to make it a little bit fun once a month and have some type of employee appreciation event.
Can they choose to have Monday off instead of Friday? I'm not a Monday person, and if I could have Monday off.
No, they can't. What we do is we actually totally shut down, so we don't run like a half staff. So what's nice about that is you don't get back and have a bunch of emails. So it's truly a day off.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
That sounds amazing.
I know it does.
One thing we have been asked for years is loan repayment, and that's not something we could actually administratively manage, given how complicated that can be. But through the state of North Dakota now, there's matching funds available, and they're going to they administer these loan repayment programs if the employer matches them for like mission critical positions. But the list is so long if you're not aware of that program, and we're going to start doing that. So I'm just waiting to get a few approvals in place, and we'll have to start small because we only have so many dollars we can commit, and it's a 3-year commitment. And the obligation is that if you get dollars, you live in North Dakota for 3 years and you work in North Dakota for 3 years, and we're going to add, and you work at all true for 3 years, which we have the flexibility to do with the state. So that's going to be great, because even though we're big, we can't manage the complexity of loans and banking entities and verifying all of that, and eligibility. So the state will do all of that for us. All we have to do is verify someone's employment, and then we pay out after each year is complete, so you don't get having people to pay you back, which we don't like to do as a part of our culture, that now maybe you leave after a year and you owe us money, and then we have to go into collections, and that is not who we are as an organization. And so this really fits with us nicely. So we're going to take advantage of that, and that hits a lot of our nurses, coming out with up to $40,000 in loans, which is a big hardship for new grads, and that's who we're looking to keep in our community.
Mm-hmm. That's great, because we all know we ourselves or someone we know probably has student loans. The price of education unfortunately keeps going up and up, so that's a great benefit. I'd like to open it up to questions. If there's anyone that has any questions, I can just probably come around with the mic. We have probably just about 15 minutes. And if there's any questions, I would like for our panelists, go ahead and ask. Oh, maybe. Oh, sure. I don't know if I should take this one or.
My question's for Chad. I'm wondering, when you opened, did you start with any benefits, or what was the tipping point as you grew to add benefits?
Great question. So when we opened, we probably only had 1 or 2 full-time, including myself. But as we grew, as our brand grew and our needs grew, it was kind of that we had to go with the traditional, the 401k, the health benefits. What tipped that was we needed more people, and we needed to retain those people. So the great people that we hired requested those, or that was a talking point in the negotiations. A year in, I think it's been a great tool to offer to new employees. So I think, like I said, we just hired a guy out of Bismarck to run our tap room. So we opened up a brand new position. He's now our general manager of the tap room, and the first thing that he requested was health benefits, because he had them previously at his other job. So we do have like a 60-day waiting period on those benefits, but we were able to hire him before he actually got out here, so we started the process early. So and then offering those other those traditional benefits to current employees that have been there since the beginning has been a great talking point as well.
Any other questions?
Yeah, my question would be for the whole panel. What would you guys think people's awareness level when they're entering the workforce, just graduated college or just graduated high school, entering the workforce? What is their awareness of the benefits that they're receiving, and how are they utilizing it?
That's a great question. Thank you.
Well, my mind went to my 2 sons. I have an 18 and 20-year-old, and no clue. Even got a pay stub and said to me, "I think I'm only making $9 an hour." I'm like, "Well, let's look." And so he's looking, and I said, "Well, you got paid for 0.75 of an FTE at 12 something an hour." So I said, "You're actually making $12 an hour." So I think, it's so new. This is where I went in my mind, just in terms of never mind benefits. How do I just read my pay stub? And I think it's very overwhelming at All True. We do new employee onboarding, and so there's a lot of paperwork people get, right, when they start a job or get hired, and then you have so many days to sign up for things, and we want to make sure people aren't rushing into that and have the information they need. So we have benefit specialists that come to new employee orientation, which is required every other Monday, and we spend time, and we do it all virtually now over Teams, and we walk them through that and then make sure they know who to call. And I think some things still are a surprise, and the reality is nobody gets everything the first time you see something. You have to, sometimes it strikes you when you need it, when you need a benefit, and then you learn about it then, like a leave or disability or maternity or something like that. So I think, we're always available to answer questions and have a 1 business day turnaround to be there for our employees.
Yeah, I think one of the things with the younger kids, they still can stay on their parents' health insurance. So when they come on there, that's usually not something that they have to fight till they, turn 26 or lose that benefit with their parents. So I think going back again to the PTO and the flexibility, that's really what they're looking for. They want to know how easy it is to get off. Can I get off? And so on. And one of the other things we do with our 401k is we do an auto enroll. So when they start, we will auto enroll them in the 401k. We get a lot of questions on that because you tell them it, but I don't think they really understand what that means till they start seeing something come out of their paycheck. But if they can handle that, that 3%, they're going to be way better off. And plus, then they're getting the match and not losing out on that money. So we try to educate them on that.
I'm not sure our business is pretty small compared to these two businesses, but the employees that come to us full-time are just like what they said. They either know what they want or they're unaware of what's going on. So a lot of our part-time employees are mainly looking for those right now discounts. That's about.
You have a question? I think I'll just use this. Make sure I have this on.
Hello, I work for Acme Tools, and so we kind of already have a comprehensive benefits program, but one thing we're looking to implement more is like reward and recognition programs that are more formalized. Do you guys have any formal reward or recognition programs, and what do you kind of do to encourage your employees as kind of a fringe benefit for them?
That's a great question. You kind of touched a little bit on the gift cards, Chad, that you give to employees. But yeah, if that's a great question.
Yeah, you know, we don't have anything formal as far as like, you know, every shift, if you go above and beyond, you're getting a gift card. It's kind of been just as we see fit. So I can't really talk any.
Well, throughout my years at Ideal Aerosmith, we've had formal recognition programs. Right now we don't. I think one of the most successful ones we did was when we allowed employees to give employees recognition gifts. So we had, you know, whether they were $5, $10 gift cards or, you know, chipper boxes or whatever, and they were able to take that. They'd have to write the reason and so on, and anybody could give anybody a recognition gift. Now, everything runs its course, and that did too. It maybe lasted like 3 years. Other than that, we don't have one right now, but we do the same thing with allowing all the supervisors to grab a gift card and give it to somebody for what they consider was above and beyond, you know, helping out on a specific day, coming in, staying late, those kind of things.
We're looking at doing something more formal with like some software where, you know, you can give someone a high five virtually, and then even if you're the one who did that, you earn points because we want to promote recognition, and then if you're the person who was recognized, and then these points would eventually add up and you could buy something in a virtual Altru store. We do have an online store, but it's not like the greatest in terms of like what you'd want to maybe give someone, or it's too spendy, but we're just on the verge of exploring that. We do a lot of things recognition-wise. Annually, we have awards and also years of service. So, I mean, that's a form of recognition, and we do that in 5-year increments. We think we should start doing that in 1, 2, 3, 4, because somebody stays somewhere 2 years now, you're like, yes, it's like a long time to be there 5 years. So we need to look at that, I think, as employers, recognize people for every year. Maybe some of you do that already. We're still a little old school on some of that, but, you know, people get their number with their name on it to have. They do get a financial or monetary amount to go buy something in the store. So we let people personalize what their gift is, not give everybody a plate or something that they don't want. And so we do that annually, and that actually reaches about 500 people. It's amazing. We used to do a huge dinner at the Alaris. We stopped that during COVID. Now we've been doing like cozier dinners by years of service, and they go out for dinner with an executive at maybe one of the nicer restaurants downtown. So those who have been there 45 years, believe it or not, there was like 20 people, and they get to go out with the CEO, and we try to do those things. We do picnics. Our food services does some picnics, food truck type things, and we recognize different teams that way. Part of our leadership model, this kind of sounds like it's impersonal, but it isn't. Every leader at Altru has to write 2 thank you notes a month minimally, and they need to be personal, and they need to be specific, and they should be mailed to the employee's home. And so we do that, and try to promote that for others as well. And so that's just a form of recognition, as well as rounding and being in people's workspace and thanking them personally. Our new CEO and interim Chief Medical Officer, Todd and Dr. Deere, they've been going around with a snack cart and visiting different departments and just thanking people, asking how their day is going, letting people load up on both healthy and unhealthy, because we are in healthcare, but we also know people like donuts. But anyway, so food and just personal thank yous, and then doing more to promote the peer-to-peer would be some highlights that we have going on.
I think that was a good point that you brought up about employees not staying in positions for 20 years. I had mentioned that to Pastor Nathan this morning when we were visiting. That kind of maybe has gone to the wayside, where employees are looking for the next best thing maybe after 5-10 years. I have my luggage from Altrua I think for my 15 year. But that, so that makes it even more important to have those recognitions, even just a handwritten note. I agree, it goes a long ways. I'll age myself a little bit, but back at Altrua we had a feather in your hat, just a small note that employees could write to each other, and you usually could save them up for your review, and it looked good on your review, but just a handwritten note, thank you for picking up that shift, or thank you for helping me with that patient, just anything like that, and just something simple like that makes a big difference, it goes a long way. Any other questions? All right, well, thank you guys for being here, for listening, and thank you to Chad, Barb, and Marlene. I appreciate you guys being here. As some very, very good information, and hopefully we can, fill some of the voids that Blue talked about this morning, and attain and retain and attract some quality employees. So thank you guys very much.